the Kim mansion, Taehyung stalked into the bedroom, his heart pounding with a conning sense of dread. He went straight to the nightstand, grabbing the bottle of medicine. Scrutinizing the label, something didn't feel right. He remembered he kept a sample from the previous prescription. Quickly, he opened the drawer, pulled out the other bottle, and compared to the one had been taken. His eyes widened in shock. A chill ran down his spine as he gripped bottle tightly, his jaw clenching in fury. Just then, he heard a knock on the door. Unmistakable step inside. He looked at his son, angry yet vulnerable face, and then, "Is this medicine that caused my miscarriage?" They are nodding slowly. "That you believe me, right? Someone switched her medicine. This is the original. I have no idea how this other one got here. I believe you're there, and I have a feeling other may be involved." They looked at him and nodded. Suddenly there was a loud knock. "I think it's a private detective I hired." Mr. Kim nodded and they both headed downstairs. When the maid opened the door, "Police officer, Mr. Kim, we received a report from your mother accusing you and your mistress of attempting to harm your." The young stunned. What are you talking about? Do you really think I would harm my wife or a child? And who is this supposed mistress? And you are here arresting me. Did you have any evidence?" The police officer exchanged glances. "Police officer, the medicine gives your wife had 85% chance of causing." Voice rising slightly, "I didn't give her that medicine." The officer remained silent. "Police officer, we are going to need to speak with your wife. She may be able to tell." The young fellow tone anxiety flooding him. If your swine may still be hurt and disappointed with him, possibly even thinking he had something to do with the mix-up. After a brief conversation with Mr. Kim, the police officer leaves. Thing stands alone, a few trees cupping, as he silently prays that one doesn't think, whispering to himself, "I love you, baby. I loved our child too. And you know that. Please don't make the wrong decisions. I don't care if they arrest me, but I can't still live with you thinking that I'm the one who caused all this." Was sitting on the couch, watching his son standing there, lost in thought. Just then, a man in a black suit. "Did you find anything?" The detective nodded. Taking a seat on the couch, Taehyung joined them, looking tense. "Detective Aram, did you find anything about those fake photos?" "Detective, yes, Taehyung. 2 days ago, when you asked me to investigate those photos, I started digging immediately. Turns out Taehyung has hardened in horror, his mind racing with worry. He feared that one might believe he was cheater, a jerk. "No, she can't believe those photos. It's not me." His voice broke. Both Mr. and Kemp and Aram looked at him in concern. As he took out his phone, his heart pounding when she finally picked up, her voice soft on the other end. "Hello." For a moment, Yang was silent, the two of them listening to each other's breathing. After a long pause, he finally spoke. "Jagya, how are you?" He wiped away a tear, hoping she couldn't hear the tremor in his voice. One heartbeat quickened, hearing the concern in his voice. She wanted to embrace him, but heart held her back. "Does it even matter to you?" Her voice turned cold, making Taehyung just tighten. "Who are you to ask me that? You are mine." "Taehyung, I'm not in a mood to talk. You showed me exactly how much you loved me, and I get it now." Interrupting his tone suddenly cold. "Do you believe those photos?" She went silent on the other end, her hesitant twisting like a knife in his heart. "I'm asking you, love. Do you believe those photos? Do you trust your sister more than me?" His deep, icy voice sent a shiver down her spine. "Just tell me, do you or don't you?" One hesitated, her thoughts were tangled. The recent mismatched doctor revelation about the medicine and others' deception had left her unable to think clearly. "Do you think I'm responsible for her child's fine?" "I don't know." She broke down into sobs, her cries tearing at Taehyung's heart. He held himself together, though her pain felt like a dagger twisting in his chest. "Are you missing me? Do you want me to see?" His voice was cried, barely holding back. Suddenly her voice cut off. Taehyung's heart skipped a bit amid tears, his eyes around confusion. "Hello, Wine. Your poem is there more than I could express." I wanted to hug him so badly, but when he was here, I said anything that came to my mind without thinking. I'd lost all sense in that moment, especially after the doctor told me it was because I had taken the with milk last night. I was angry and hurt. I said I didn't want to see his face again. But now I miss him. I don't understand any of it. Did he do it on purpose or was it an honest mistake? I don't know, all I know is that I want him here. I want to touch his face. I know he must have cried too. Come there, I stand on those photos again, still trying to make sense of it all. On the call, are you missing me? Do you want me to see me again? His voice breaks and I can hear his soft crying. I was about to say I miss you, but suddenly two police officers arrived with my mom, Mrs. Cam and Ada. There, yes, I miss you. Please come here. I said to him quickly. Police officer, Mrs. Kim Taehyung, may I ask? She going to divorce him, so stop calling her Mrs. Kim. I didn't hang up the call so Taehyung could hear everything from here, his side. Hearing her, he immediately left the mansion with Detective RM, who gathered some evidence. Mr. Kim followed them too. Yes, officer, you can ask anything. I am fine. The police officer nodded and then asked him carefully. Police officer, according to you, your husband gave you that last night. My breath hissed, my heart racing. I glanced at Mrs. Kim, who looked extremely tense for her son. Ada, meanwhile, was speaking. But as I looked around, I noticed something strange in my mother's expression. She was seemed to be signaling with some subtle signs, shaking her head slowly. I couldn't fully understand. Police officer, Mrs. Kim, is this true? I took a deep breath, gathering my courage, and shook my head slowly. Ada's eyes widened and Mrs. Kim looked visibly relieved. My mother gave me a slight nod as if encouraging me. No, officer, my husband didn't give me that medicine. What? How can you just change your story like that? I shot her a cold glare. I'm telling the truth. The young didn't give me that last night. My voice was steady, confident, but the entire scheme was starting to unravel, and I could see the shock in her eyes. She thought she could easily create misunderstanding between us, but now I wasn't about to let that happen. How can you defeat him? He's really cheated on you. With who? I asked, holding my composure, watching her falter. With me. I gave her a fake, surprised expression, then chuckled. That's not him. I said with complete calm, and Ada's anger was simmering beneath the surface. How can you trust him after seeing those photos? Because I know that's not him. The hand in the photo, it's not his. I know my husband perfectly well. I leaned in his making. Maybe you didn't pay attention to your cosplayer. Or maybe the editing wasn't done carefully enough. On the other end of the line, the young heart soared. He looked over to his father with a relieved smile as they drove. Back here, Ada was in absolute shock, her plans crumbling right in front of her. Ada, what? When? Ada's anger flared, and everyone in the room watched a tense exchange between the two of you. Sighed in relief, reassured that her son hadn't betrayed wine. She knew she could forgive him for many things, but not for cheating. He's mine, man. I know him before you did. I love him, and he loves me too. He doesn't love you. You raised your voice slightly. The conviction in your tone surprised everyone. The police officer began to cast doubtful glances at Ada, sensing something suspicious in her behavior. They decided to observe a bit longer to see if more evidence emerged. Police officer, we are sorry for the interruption, but if you are certain it wasn't your husband who gave you, then we will need to conduct further investigation to find a real culprit. Please ask me anything you need, but I am confident my husband would never do this. He would never try to harm me or our child. Ada, how can you be so sure? Her voice was desperate, returning on hysteria. He's literally gave you that himself with his own hand. I swapped it for the original one. You are just trying to protect him. Everyone froze in shock as Ada unwittingly compassed. Even you couldn't hide the look of disgust that crossed your face. Maybe I was just trying to save my marriage from her. The words slipped out of him. Officer moved to restrain Ada. How dare you touch me? You know who I am. She struggled, glaring at the female officer with venom in her eyes. Ada's face contorted with anger and desperation. The police officer held her arm firmly, but she thrust against them, her voice breaking with scream. You think you have won one? You think any of this was over? She laughed bitterly, her eyes filled with. One looked at her shock as Taehyung walked into the room. He was dressed in a light ring blue shirt and black pant, his hair displayed and eyes tired, but filled with concern. Without a second thought, he crossed the room and wrapped his arm around Ryan in a tight embrace. Leaned into his chest, feeling his warmth and steady heartbeat, with Ada's voice cut through the comfort of the moment, her rage filling every corner of the room. Go ahead and act like everything is fine, but the young was. Just then the door opened and Ryan's father stepped in. His face solemn. He carried a file in his hand which he handed to the police officer. Mother was beside him. These are all recordings from her office, surveillance footage along with a transcript of every conversation Ada with the secretary. You will see how planned all of this piece by piece. Ada says father and his solicitor examined evidence and she shot a furious look at her father. You betray me, your own daughter. You made that choice yourself, Ada. What you did, it's beyond anything we could forgive. I've already explained everything to her mother. While mom eyes glistened with tears, she looked at Ada, trying to hold back the pain in her eyes. Ada, please, it's enough. You can still turn back. Let Taehyung can go accept responsibility for what you did. Maybe somehow you could be forgiven. Cutting her off, sneering. Forgiven? Forget Taehyung? Never. He is mine. No one else will have him. One won't. I will make sure of it. Taehyung struck her. One mother hands shook slightly. Because clear. Police officer threatening to grab on Ada. That's enough. You are being taken in, Miss Lee. Any further traits will only worsen your case. Still fighting against officer. This isn't over. My father will make sure I will free. I will see you. One father exchanged a glance with officer. She will face the full extent of the law. No one is going to protect her from this. The officer exploded, screaming, Ada out of the room. Her mother faced her with the sorrow and she reached out and Swan's shoulder. I'm sorry, One. I should have seen this sooner. Mom, you tried your best. This wasn't your fault. Taehyung held us closer, his face softening as he looked down at her, whispering, wiping her tears from her cheek. It's real over. I won't let anything or anyone come between us again. One mother nodded and her father put an arm around her shoulder as they left the room. Mr. and Mrs. Kim left to leaving Taehyung and Wan stand alone. Wan found herself struggling with a heavy sense of guilt that seemed to grow with each passing moment. She replayed every argument, every assumption, every moment she had doubted Taehyung over and over in her mind. Unable to shake the regret, the weight on her heart, she watched Taehyung from a distance as they moved through their home. Evening and though she found him sitting on the edge of their bed, his heart lowered, his hand clasped, and felt her heart tighten as she took a hesitant step forward, feeling a mix of shame and worry. Her voice was soft, almost unsure if she feared she didn't deserve to speak to him. He looked up, his eyes started meeting hers, and she felt a pang of regret. So stopped in and nearly bowed her tears. She sat beside him, her finger twisting nervously in her lap. I don't even know where to begin. She took a deep breath, struggling to find words. I heard you there. I didn't believe in you when you needed me the most. I let my anger, my trust in someone else. Could you my heart? And now I don't even believe in me anymore. Taehyung listened and eyes, his gaze fixed on the ferocious dog. She took his hand gently, feeling the warmth of his skin against her, but didn't respond and made it her eyes shrink. I'm so sorry, her voice trembled with a continued I accused you. Things, terrible things. I didn't even give you a chance to explain and she paused, taking a shaking breath. I hate that I made you feel like my love for you wasn't real. Then looked at her, then expression softening. Slightly though there was still guarded distance in his eyes. Why did you trust me? All I wanted was for you to believe in me, but when it mattered you believed that instead. His voice was low, almost pain. One felt her heart drop at his word. Her guilt growing stronger. She wanted to reach out to close the distance, but something held her back. I don't know what to come over. Her voice was barely a whisper, her eyes filled with tremors. Maybe I was scared of losing you. I trusted her because I thought because she was my sister, but I didn't realize how much it would hurt you. And now I'm terrified that you will never be able to forgive me, and you will think my love for you wasn't true. Then he softened even more and he sighed, running a hand through his hair. He looked away. Small frown on his face. Why I will lie, you hurt me more than I can put out the word. I thought we were stronger than this. I thought you understand each other even in the hardest time. One felt her tears slipped down her cheek and her voice cracking as she spoke. I don't deserve your forgiveness, Taehyung, I know that, but I just want to know you that I love you. I love you so much it scares me, and the thought of losing you, if you think that my love isn't real. She looked away, her voice faltering. It's the worst feeling in the world. Taehyung looked her, his expression softening as she reached out gently, wiping the tears from her cheek. I never doubted your love, and not even for a second. I know what we have been real, but trust me, trust is something we both need to work on. She nodded. I will do whatever it takes to make it up to you, Taehyung. I promise. He laughs. Let's take it one at a time, okay? We will get through this together.